Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guys on Sports. Zach is back. How was the holiday? The Eagles lost. Thank you for reminding me.
It was good. Yeah, we lost the Super Bowl. It happens, but taking care of the girlfriend in the long weekend, and happy Valentine's Day to the boys.
Taking care.
Not only did you lose, you lost in spectacular fashion.
I wouldn't call that spectacular.
Did you take care of her?
Did you watch the game?
Yeah, scratch my back, I scratch yours, kind of deal.
You're a giver.
Yeah, and a taker.
Okay. Oh,
Tomato.
I bet you
Oh,
are.
right.
Hey
yo. Anyway.
Take and receive are the same thing. Yes.
Well, yeah, you could receive things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you do that to me 30 seconds into the show.
So, we got a lot in store for you guys, but did anybody catch any of the NBA festivities over the weekend?
Matt McClung put himself and the dunk contest back on the map.
He did. I wonder if it's short-lived or not, and it's a damn shame that we can't get more frontline players, but that's a dead horse that we're not going to beat today. I did like seeing Lillard win the three-point contest.
Yeah.
The game was an absolute insult to sports fans everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much else to say, but I'll give you guys the floor.
Yeah, McClung, man, way to come through there. I think
White power.
He almost he nearly matched his yearly salary with that win. $100K for the win of the dunk contest, and his salary right now is $106K.
I saw that.
Good for him.
Yeah. Without going into it too much, I mean, maybe they should instead have like players don't want to go and have an injury or a bad dunk for only $100K. Why don't they put like just random athletes they find, like how they would on like ESPN or Sports Center, and then have them go prove themselves?
Yeah. Mac McClung, man, he looked good.
It's the third time you said it.
He said, "Screw you, Wesley Snipes. You don't know what the hell you're talking about."
White men can jump.
I get the reference.
He could jump.
He got hops.
So we're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to touch on some fantasy. We're going to look at some of the pending free agents with free agency looming here. And, in a fantasy world, talk about a couple guys, where we'd like to see them go. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some quarterbacks that are looking for a new home. So let's start with the fantasy section. I know Mark is ready to go.
Frothing at the mouth,
foaming at the lips. Mark, tell us who's your free agent and where you'd like to see him placed.
All right. What are we doing? We doing both of them here?
Do one.
Do one.
Yeah.
All right. I want to start off with something that I'm actually surprising myself with talking about this guy, Evan Ingram. Okay. I am really, really curious to see if he stays put this year, because Evan Ingram, coming off of that, let's face it, he didn't look like a top tight end in New York. Now, was that quarterback play? Was it his shitty hands? I think it was probably
both.
C, all of the above, right?
Yeah.
So you go to Jacksonville and you go to a very pass-happy team with a subpar quarterback, and with the weapons around him, I think that allowed Ingram to really find his niche. And for what it's worth, Trevor Lawrence is able to sling the ball around, and blind squirrels, you find nuts every once in a while. And towards the back half of the season, he turned it around. He looked pretty decent. But I think it's in Evan Ingram's best interest to stay put. And I think that's because you have Calvin Ridley coming back. We're expecting Calvin Ridley to kind of resume being the Calvin Ridley that we know. It's probably going to take him a couple of weeks to get into that. But
it's a big hope.
You have a great supporting cast. I mean, you have Christian Kirk coming off career highs in receptions and targets. You have Zay Jones, who proved to be a very viable wide receiver 3 once Ridley slides back into the Jacksonville DMs there, and then you have Travis Etienne. I mean, this offense is it's set to explode. If this offense doesn't do well this year, it's on coaching and it's on quarterback play, because this offense, there's no reason why this offense shouldn't score a ton of points.
So you don't think Ridley coming back, if he approximates what he was, is going to take away from what Ingram did last year?
That was my question.
No, I'm one of those guys that I feel that when you have a team that throws the ball as much as Jacksonville does, I think all it really does is help pull coverages. And I think that Ingram is a spectacular talent at the position. He's very athletic, right? He's kind of like that tight end wide receiver hybrid that you see like Kyle Pitts and that type of mold.
Hopefully Pitts can become Ingram at this point.
Yeah, seriously. And, I think that Ingram is still going to get his targets, and I think that he's probably going to make the most of them. So I'd like to see him stay put, and I think he's got huge fantasy upside this year.
All right, and from one tight end to another, a guy that's not as athletic but sure-handed guy, big body, knows how to run routes in the middle of the field. I'm going with Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
Cowboys want to keep him, so I'm going to put that out there, but it's going to be a tight fit. He played on the tag this year. If they keep him, he's going to bump up to about 13 per. They got decisions to make with Zeke. They need some wide receiver help. I like him going to Cincinnati. They need a guy down the middle of the field. They got the two stalwarts on that. Who knows what happens with Higgins there? But what they're missing is a guy in the middle of the field. They're going to pull coverage with your outside guy. I love Dalton Schultz as a short-handed guy to be a security outlet for Burrow. Now, I don't know that he has the upside of an Ingram, but I feel like he's a guy in that type of offense that could be a more consistent every week start. Then I'm not worried about a boom or bust.
Yeah. It's not bad. He's actually very low-key athletic, too. Let's just say that. Dalton Schultz is pretty athletic.
He's not Ingram.
And I think he's an uptick from Hayden Hurst, who is also a free agent at this point.
And he did well, too, with Burrow. So, you can upgrade Schultz. You can upgrade Hurts with Schultz.
I think Schultz is an upgrade.
Yeah,
I think so, too.
I agree. I think that he is. And I think with that offense, you don't know where T. Higgins is going.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pony up if they want to keep T. So you have Jamar Chase. You have Tyler Boyd, who's another one you might want to target in the late rounds of drafts because he's probably going to slide into that wide receiver too if Higgins does walk. But Dalton Schultz in Cincinnati would be a great fit.
I think you could get Schultz for around 12 a year too on a 3 or 4 year contract.
You can also see the eye test is there. I can see Schultz in a Bengals jersey for some reason.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Yeah,
it's a good pick. Look at that.
Go ahead, Zach.
Not bad for everything. So I'm gonna go with an exciting running back that you drafted last year, not expecting to be a top 5 running back, and Mark was on the money. Mr. Josh Jacobs did extremely well with the Raiders, but I think he can do even better with the Panthers. I think the fact that Dante Foreman almost averaged 5 rushing yards a carry there, and the offensive line for being good, I think you plug Josh Jacobs in there. Will it happen? Probably not, but I mean, my fantasy mind is trying to manifest this to happen because Frank Reich, as much as he admittedly didn't want to run with JT, he did. Frank Reich relies on that run game more than he wants to admit. And the fact that the Panthers have, I would call it suspect quarterback play. I mean, I think Sam Darnold will be okay, but hey, what if they draft a rookie quarterback? And hey, besides DJ Moore, who else do you have really in that aerial attack? It's going to be ground and pound. And if Dante Foreman and Chuba Hubbard were players that you can pick off waivers and plug into a lineup for fantasy, especially in fantasy championships too. Foreman probably won a lot of at least first rounds in playoffs. I think Josh Jacobs, I think the sky's the limit there. I think that's an insane. You can draft Jacobs at the spot that he ended at last year, and he can still perform at that same top 5, maybe even a top 3 running back.
I do actually kind of like that landing spot for him because they don't have consistent running back play there. And Josh Jacobs proved that he can be an every down back, and he's a great pass catching back as well. Very, very underrated there. Their quarterback play is suspect. You got Baker Mayfield, free agent. You have Sam Darnold, and you don't know.
Darnold.
You figure they're going to have to go out and get somebody, right? Another team that I think would be a very interesting fit with suspension looming regarding Alvin Kamara. I think
Not bad.
You put Josh Jacobs in a Saints uni. I think he could probably mop the floor.
I actually like that too, but I just struggle to see
him in it. It doesn't pass the eye test.
Yeah, it doesn't
it's
pass
not
the eye
just that;
test.
it's that they traded away this guy, right? Do they want to go give big money to another running back?
They just traded away who?
McCaffrey. He's saying the Panthers.
Oh, the Panthers. Panthers.
Yeah.
All right.
That is true, but I think
Dead air there. Sorry.
no, I was trying to think there for a second. I don't know. I think McCaffrey being traded off is a little bit more about them getting rid of kind of a regime there. I think you can bring in a running back, and I don't think Jacobs will take all of the money there. I think I can see a possibility of it happening, but it is a little far fetched.
I mean, I think it is a nice setup, though. I mean, that's what they like to run the ball traditionally. So.
Oh man, I mean, plug any running back in there last year, and they're going to have a even better offensive line with that rookie that did really well for them is going to be in year 2. I think that's a formula for success if he goes.
All right. So from one running back to the next, Mark.
I'm the next guy. I'm really interested to see what happens. I think I know what's going to happen. I don't want it to happen. I'd like to see something else happen. But
Beating around the bush.
But again, running back's tough, right? Because
This would be great, but it'd be bad as well.
the shelf life on running back in the NFL has gotten exponentially shorter through the years, right?
Yeah, like
so a
your
lot
dick.
of teams are very,
I'm gonna cut that out. I'm sorry.
very, a lot of, now you threw me off, yeah.
I think you should keep it in.
A lot of teams are, they're gun shy ponying up for these backs because the shelf life isn't the greatest, and people, teams are trying to clip these windows, right? So unless you have a well-established team, you're really not going to go out there and pick up that last key to the puzzle. And that's why with Saquon Barkley, I think odds are that the Giants franchise him, right? I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I think they're going to franchise him. So I think he's gonna stick around in New York one more year. Fuck, man, I would love to see him go somewhere else. I would love to see him go to Chicago, honestly, because I think with the cap space that Chicago has and what we're going to be able to do at the top end of that draft, I think we could immediately become a playoff team and a serious team 2-3 years down the road.
I think we're gonna see, just insider here, I think we're gonna see where his balls are at, because I think it's a big risk. They offered him 12.5, which I think is generous.
It's pretty good.
For 3 years with an option on the fourth, which I think is essentially, kind of what he's worth.
Should be the market.
With the injury history. I could see them franchising him. I don't know if I could see him taking a risk of not getting injured, like playing another year. And if he gets injured, he gets, his value drops like in half. So I don't know that he wants to do that at his age. He's like 26, 27. That'd be tough. I think Chicago would be a good fit for him too. I mean, as much as I want to keep him, I think it works well. They have the money. But I do think the Giants either sign him, extend him, give him that 3 year, or they tag him. They're not going to let him walk, obviously.
How far apart are they right now in talks?
There's no number that's come out of Saquon's camp, but what I heard is that he wants to be paid somewhere around 16.
I was going to say, I bet you he's in the 16 to 18 range.
Offensive weapon stuff, but, they're not going to give it to him. I think 12.5 is about as far as they go. But yeah, what do you think?
I see it happening. I mean, the Chicago thing is really realistic because they can just give money to whoever really they want to. It would muddle the Falcons' backfield, but I think Barkley going there could be juice. I mean, they're a number one rushing attack essentially, and the fact that Patterson's on his last year of a 2-year deal and they have young weapons at running back, I can see Barkley being kind of like not like a Todd Gurley off into the sunset, but like kind of what Todd Gurley should have been when he re-signed or when he did sign with the Falcons with a little bit of explosive juice at a goal line back. I could see that happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let me get into my second and last guy, and this actually connects to my first pick. Schultz, I think they don't pay him. They have a guy that they drafted in the 4th round last year that I think, I'm talking about the Cowboys, that they're comfortable with making the tight end one if they had to. That money, I think, has to go to a wideout. And I know they have Michael Gallup on the roster. Mm-hmm. Returned from an ACL last year. Struggled, 34 catches, think under 500 yards. I say you go make a bargain play for one of the top 3 wide receivers on the market, and I think you go get Jacoby Myers and have him bookend with CeeDee Lamb. Now, I would hate for that to happen because Myers, although bothered by injuries his first 2 seasons, he was a lot better last year. And I think he's a number 1 wide receiver on a lot of teams in this league. I think he's talented. I don't know that the Patriots are going to pay him the $15 million that he probably is going to get. And I think you see an uptick. Now, I have his numbers here. Let me bring them up. But I think you see an uptick in
his numbers. He far outproduced what the quarterback play was in New England.
And the offensive scheme in general.
14 games, 67 catches, 804 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's short-handed and he can flat out fly.
And I don't like Dak, but Dak is definitely an upgrade for what they had last year. And with CeeDee Lamb on the underside pulling coverage,
Yeah.
And you get the running back, Pollard back in the fold, right? Yeah. I love him as a guy that's like, if they go get him, he's a guy that he's like a top 15 wide receiver for me.
That passes
because
the
I
eye
think
test
he's
too.
going to be.
Yeah. I mean, being biased, I hope that Jerry Jones is not listening to us right now, because that would be a good play by them.
Because I think they could get him for a decent price and letting Schultz walk. I mean, it just kind of lines up. They would have to cut Zeke, though.
Oh, yeah.
And it's trending towards that.
Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall there. I mean, provided that Pollard can come back from this injury,
He should be able to.
which he should be able to very easily, and stay as explosive as he is. I mean, he's meant for that offense. That guy is fantastic. I was saying prior to the injury that next year Tony Pollard would be the number 1 overall pick. But now there's a lot of question marks, right? Now with the injury, you don't know if Jerry Jones is going to want to keep Zeke around in town, and you wonder what the explosiveness of Pollard is going to be when he does come back. But if Pollard were to come back and play Pollard ball and there's no Zeke around, I mean, you're looking at a guy that should be the first running back off the board too.
Yeah, you're right. That's crazy. I didn't even think about it. All right, so Zach, I know you got one more guy for us. Why don't you get into it?
Alrighty, so the final pick on my end, I would love to see Mr. Derek Carr in a New York Jets uniform. I think the offense is set up for a veteran quarterback to distribute the ball, not take too much limelight and distraction away from the team. The defense is set up to give the offense the ball. I mean, you have the offensive rookie of the year, and probably what would have been the offensive rookie of the year in Breece Hall if he stayed healthy. I mean, what else more is there? I mean, Nathaniel Hackett is going to do a lot better than what's-his-face Mike LaFleur that was there. You get Mekhi Becton back, which even fortifies an offensive line that was not great but good. And I'm taking him as my second quarterback in fantasy and has the potential to be a top 8, definitely top 10 quarterback.
Things are looking up for your favorite team.
Yeah. So before we get in, let me do, because you mistakenly just ran it.
Well, you asked me, my guy. I mean, what do you want from me?
What's the issue? If there's issues, we're gonna press them.
Yeah.
Come on down.
That was failure. You set me up for failure.
No,
there.
I didn't. That was just me transitioning.
And then talk about the fantasy fit and
It's
pressing
called
issues.
a segue,
Yeah, it's
you
a
noob.
segue, but you just
you should have
threw a wrench in it.
You should have.
It's fine. So we're talking about Derek Carr. We were going to talk about him pressing issues, but this is the perfect
Segue.
pitch. Yeah, I mean, keep going what
You
you're
did
saying.
great.
Because before he gives his insight,
This is like
We're-
Valentine's
Well,
Day.
it's the
For
I
same
was
insight.
I knew that we weren't in pressing issues, and I kept the pressing issues facts out of it because we were talking fantasy. But
I know, but here's what was going to happen. He was not going to do that.
well, all right. So
We're just going to talk about it. So.
I would like to say that in a realistic fashion, and then with pressing issues, and now I'm like trying to think about how I want to articulate this thought because
just talk fantasy.
I'm off the heels. Well, no, I mean.
Yeah, you got him
I'm
all,
angry. No, I'm not angry.
got him all flustered.
I would say. I mean, the Jets are kind of corralling Carr into the Jets camp right now. I mean, they said that, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Jets said that Derek Carr should finish as a first ballot Hall of Famer, has the potential to, given he's on the right team. So
Yeah. Well, so let's cue this up. We're going to talk fantasy within this, but there's a lot going on with Derek Carr. He's visited the Saints. He visited the Jets over the weekend where they did tell him that he could be a first ballot Hall of Famer. They said they think they could win a championship with him. But the elephant in the room is that they also are interested in Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is deep in a dark hole right now, contemplating
Wake up.
his retirement or his completing his career. And it puts
Or just getting high AF.
well, he's not getting high right
This
now.
time.
Not this time. And what's wrong with getting high? You've gotten high a bunch of times. So for
normalize getting high.
for the Jets, now the Jets are in a precarious position here, right? Where you have a bird in one hand, and do you drop it to try to get the other one, right? And that's where they are, because I do think for the next 2 years, which is probably what you would have Rodgers for, he gives you a better chance to win right now with that roster. He's also 40. He's also a little bit of a nozzle, and he you're gonna have to give up some stuff to get him.
Yeah.
Carr, younger, not as good, not the same resume. He's gonna just cost you money. So if you're the Jets, we'll talk about the other suitors here. But if you're the Jets, where do you go here? You go with the more sure thing, a shorter window to try to win, because I'll remind you guys before you answer. You're playing in the AFC. You're gonna have to go through two of these three guys: Burrow, Mahomes, Allen.
Yeah.
You're gonna see probably at least two of them in the playoffs to get to where you want to go. You want to go against those two of those three guys with Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers?
I have a quick answer to this. The Jets, there is no pressure to win now for the Jets.
There definitely is. You're wrong about that.
Well, listen, because the Jets are doing something that they haven't done in the past few years. Is they're building a really strong foundation. I think they have one of the youngest teams in the league. I mean, they have the best offense as far as like young talent goes, and defense is pretty much likewise. It's a little bit older, but really all you need is a quarterback to go in. You don't need an Aaron Rodgers to come in here, maybe have a good season, maybe decide to retire after year one and kind of just blow it up and you're back to square one after trading away things for Aaron Rodgers. I think Carr can put enough pressure off of the expectations a little bit, and also like say they keep Zach Wilson, or say they get like the actual plan for the next 5 to 10 years, works well with Derek Carr. You can't do that with Rodgers.
Yeah, and I don't think they need that drama either. And here's the thing, I think you're actually both right here. The Jets are in such a unique position that they're built to win now and built to win in the future. They're young. They put together the right pieces to have some good leadership on both sides of the ball. And, I mean, just a team loaded with dynamic playmakers. That's why I don't think there's pressure to win now. But I don't think it's so bad that you need Aaron Rodgers to do it. I think you have a legitimate shot with Derek Carr. And going forward, Derek Carr is going to give you the longevity. I would say that the Jets probably have a good 5 to 6 year window where they can be very competitive in the AFC.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. I would say it would be different if the Jets made the playoffs, got to the second round, and then like, oh man, quarterback is the hump that they need to get over. But like they didn't make the playoffs. I see the AFC being competitive in the postseason, but the Bills are on somewhat of a decline. Miami, they still have to win a playoff game and get to what they want to aspire to be. And I mean, you're looking at the Patriots being the worst that they've ever been in the last 20 years. So like there's obviously a pressure to win, but I mean, I don't think you need to like go mortgage your future for Rodgers, especially when the Jets have built off of a really solid few years.
All right, so let me point out something that you guys are not factoring in. The two guys that are making this decision are who?
Joe Douglas and
Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Douglas was there before Robert Saleh. He was actually hired by Adam Gase, or brought in by Adam Gase.
Yeah, Philly exec.
As a friend. Fired Adam Gase, I hired Rob Saleh. Rob Saleh has to make the playoffs this year. Okay, he's gonna lose his job, and you know what they're gonna do too? If they fire Saleh, they're gonna fire Joe Douglas.
You think so?
I think so.
Even
because
with the drafts and
with Zach Wilson as his crowning jewel as a pick, that's number one. Number two.
Good point.
Number two, the Jets for the last 10 years have been on and off with their GMs and their head coaches. None of them have come in together. You've had a coach get fired, GM hired, and they've never been like kind of like Dable and Shane were this year, where they come in together, they're tethered together, and it's a clean in and out if you got to get out of the situation. I think they get rid of both of them. You can't have – here's the thing. If you go get Carr, that is a long play. It's probably the safer play. But those guys got to think about winning this year. They got to think about getting into the playoffs this year. And you can't have Zach Wilson. You can't then sign Derek Carr for probably $48, $50 million a year, because that's why he didn't want to trade to New Orleans, because he knew he could get more money. Give him that money, and then you don't make the playoffs with Carr, you're gone. You're gone. If you have a chance at Aaron Rodgers gets you to the playoffs this year. As much as you hate him, Carr, I don't know.
I think Carr can make the playoffs with the Jets. I think will they lose a game? They have a better likelihood of losing a game with Rodgers, but like
Carr has
I see exactly what you're saying, and that's the realistic part of it, and that could happen. But
Carr's big year, right? Real quick, Carr's big year, not last year, the year before, when they got into the playoffs, best year of his career. 4 games they had to win to get into the playoffs. He threw 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, never threw for more than 236 yards. He didn't play well. Matter of fact, the game that they had to win to get into the playoffs against the Chargers, remember that crazy game back and forth?
Yeah.
He threw for like 186 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, something like that. How do you take that guy and go to Buffalo and win? How do you take that guy and win in the playoffs against Burrow?
What I think you're missing though, as a Bears fan and watching Aaron Rodgers literally own us for the last 15 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy that is in drastic decline.
I don't know if he's in drastic decline.
He had a chance. He had a chance. Absolutely
Drastic?
very drastic. His completion percentage went down, I believe, this year. His throws just don't look the same. His drive doesn't look the same. He had a chance to go out there in Week 18 and win himself a playoff berth.
Against a good team, though.
Against a good team, but he didn't even show up, man. They got blown out. He doesn't look like the Aaron Rodgers. And again,
He was injured.
This is somebody that I know he brought that up after his shitty play. That is,
Well, do you want him to bring it up during the season?
Well, I mean, there's guys that play with broken ribs and shit. You know what I mean? Drew Brees played with 1 lung, for crying out loud.
You don't throw with your rib, though.
Sure, you do. You throw.
No, you don't.
Oh
You
my
throw with
God.
your hand.
Anyway, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. This guy is definitely declining because he's not the same player. He's
still
not
better than
as
Carr.
dominant. I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't
you're
know.
crazy.
Let me say something real quick. So I don't think he's drastically declining because he did have like 2 back-to-back MVP seasons. But the thing that I think Mark has truth to is the fact that why did Rodgers decline? I think is the question we should be asking. He had a different offensive coordinator for the first time in a little bit, and he had a lot of just uncertainty with a place that he's played football for that's like 15 friggin' years. I think there's some truth to Rodgers going to a new state, new team, new coordinators, new everything
To get him hard again.
Hackett is
he'd be going to the coordinator he won 2 MVPs with.
Hackett is there, but this is a person that doesn't really care about the offseason as a quarterback would, like Derek Carr. I think there's a little bit of truth there. I
don't know.
Trying to
go
through the weeds there.
All that being said, I'd still take him over Carr. I think he's better than him. All that stuff thrown in the pot.
Quarterback 11.
So
He's a shitbag.
he had an off year.
He's an absolute shitbag.
Playing with rookie wide receivers. I mean,
Yeah, wide receivers that come into the league and have the freshest goddamn legs.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think if Joe Douglas and Saleh take Derek Carr, lose a playoff game, their jobs are fine.
If they get to the playoffs and lose a playoff,
I think that could happen.
it could happen. Oh, I know. I'm not saying it can't happen.
I think but if you
I
take
think the
Rodgers,
surer bet is Rodgers, though.
you take Rodgers, you trade for Rodgers, you give up some stuff. Say I don't know. I think you could lose. I think you don't even. There is a possibility and there's a realm where you have Rodgers as the Jets quarterback and you don't even make the playoffs because of off season lack of momentum and distractions during the season.
That's never happened though.
It happened in one season with Rodgers last year.
They didn't miss the play. There was no issues during the year with Rodgers.
There was
nothing.
Dude, I was more right than I even thought.
But there's some stuff that you don't see that I think affected the building.
This dude didn't just decline. This dude took a nosedive off a cliff, right? In his last 3 seasons, he played 1 more game this year than he has in his previous 2 seasons.
That's right.
Right? He had more pass attempts than in his previous seasons with less completions.
Yeah.
A 6% dip in completion percentage and 700-yard dip. Not to mention throwing for the 2nd most interceptions in his career.
Do you think any of that has to do
26
with
and
a guy
12.
named Devontae Adams leaving town?
No, I think it has to do with him being.
It does.
I think it has to do with him relying on Devontae Adams. Devontae
I
Adams made Aaron Rodgers.
He was good before Devontae Adams, and that's what quarterbacks do. When you have a guy that you have a connection with, you rely on him.
No. And Randall Cobb made Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Is there a little bit
What
of
about Donald Driver and Greg
Donald
Jennings?
Driver made Brett Favre.
Is there a little bit of writing on the
played with
wall
Rodgers.
with Favre going to the Jets and not doing well? Do we see any
Favre
comparison?
did well.
Yeah, but
He did. He got injured.
I guess to find
They were 8-2, and then he went to Minnesota and went to NFC Championship game. So
Okay.
at that point,
myth busted. That was before I was asking because I didn't see it happen, so I was asking if there's any parallels.
Were you born
well,
yet?
there are parallels. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
I was born, yes.
Same
Yeah.
two teams. There's parallels. Another suitor for Carr is the Panthers, who have yet to meet with him, but they are kind of lurking. And I think that would affect the Josh Jacobs moves, obviously, if they got to give him a truckload of money. And Aaron Rodgers, from what I've heard, it's either the Packers retirement or the Jets, really.
Yeah.
So
Is death still on the table?
hey, man, you just gotta let go. Let go and let God.
Do we? It's a dark horse, but Carr to the Falcons at all? Because they have a Desmond Ridder that not really plays like Derek Carr, but fits more of that mold than like plugging in Lamar Jackson, who would do a lot better in Atlanta if that ever happened. But I can see Carr to the Falcons being a thing.
Carr and New Orleans are both interesting just because they play in a trash division.
Yeah, I think that's so lame though for Carr to go to the Saints, because you're just following the steps of Jameis Winston, freaking Taysom Hill, Terry Bridgewater. Like you're going in for a few years to play with a team that's in cap hell and doesn't know the direction, could fire their coach after a year. I just don't. I don't like that move at all if I'm Derek Carr.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they're just really good. Because you think Derek Carr could beat all these guys in the AFC.
I mean, the Bills are on a decline. The Patriots are the worst they've seen in 20 years.
The Bills are not on a decline.
Dude, I'm not saying it's a like
Bills- the Bills window
send the
is
alarm.
closing.
I'm just saying the Bills are on
It's
a
just-
decline. A little. They are on a little bit of decline.
It's like a team. If they don't do better than they did last year, then they're on a decline. It's a sport. Teams get knocked out.
They're getting
you have
older.
a bad game.
Yeah, but the
Let's
Bills
just say
have glaring problems.
If Grandma
though.
says, it's a little chilly in here, let me shut the window. That's what the Bills are. The Bills are now the window coming back down.
I don't think so, man.
They are.
the Bills have glaring
Grandma's
problems.
not
They
hot.
were Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the season. Now they're on the decline.
Grandma's not hot flash. She's
called-
throwing
it's-
that window
it's
open.
called
She's shutting that
recency.
bitch.
Well, no,
Recency bias,
I mean, that's
guys.
called a decline. If you're a Super Bowl
They-
favorite and now you're not that, that's
Von
called
Miller,
a decline.
Von Miller injured again,
Yeah,
and
okay.
another year older. You have Stephon Diggs, another year older. You have Gabe Davis, who didn't really show up.
Well,
you got Josh Allen, that is
He's still Josh
he's
Allen.
getting a little old.
The Josh Allen
Come
thing
on.
that's a little ridiculous. But they have glaring problems. That defense is a little bit older. They're not going to be able to keep is it Matt Milano or who's our safety that are both on contract years. They're not going to be able to keep the
Poyer.
same defense. Poyer, thank you. They have an offensive scheming problem. They can't seem to run the ball how
They
they
have
want
to run the ball.
Yeah, but we've been saying that for a little bit now. I mean, they don't have a number two besides. I wouldn't even call Gabe Davis a number two, being going to school for UCF.
I hear
even
what
the
you're
bias
saying.
there.
I don't think that you could say they're on a decline until
And the Jets beat
you
them
see-
twice last year.
They beat them once. Until you could see, until we see what they do in free agency, what they do in the draft. Because before the Eagles went to the draft, nobody was talking about them being the powerhouse in the East. Same thing with the Jets. That changed the face of everything. So I think we got to wait and see what they do in the offseason
Oh, yeah,
before we say
agreed.
they're on a decline, their window's closing. It's insane.
It's almost
but
fully
then
shut.
you'll drink the Burrow juice and say, well, our window's
no.
always open. Oh, well,
I hate Burrow.
That's ridiculous.
Burrow to me is like Aaron Rodgers Jr. I can't stand Burrow either.
No, well,
You don't like
there's
guys
a
with
problem
confidence,
there.
huh?
Yeah.
It's
Makes you
not
feel
guys
small.
with confidence. It's guys that just are
Makes you feel small.
overhyped.
He likes quarterbacks like Justin Fields that just admittedly don't like the weather in Chicago.
Yeah.
Don't matter.
Where
he goes out and he plays and he
said
balls.
he wanted to play where? I forgot where he said he wanted to go.
Who, Fields?
Just like the other day, I heard an interview with him on Barstool.
Part of my take.
Yeah. Well, there you
well.
go. There's your fish guy. So, I think that's it, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to say that decline and what's the opposite of incline? You would say increase, right? Not decline.
They took a step back because they didn't. Yeah, but they didn't. The decline is different.
Yeah, but I think like recency bias and like decline or incline or increase are kind of hand in hand. I mean,
That what?
what?
What'd you say?
Decline and the opposite of decline, would you say that's increase or incline?
I'm not getting what you're saying. You should use hand gestures.
Okay. Well, I don't even want to say it now. Decline is like day to day. Like you can be declining one day and then not be declining the next day. But I think the Bills are on a decline.
Or is it decline? How do you say it?
Well, you're doing that, and then you just did that to Joe Burrow a second ago. So everyone's throwing
Well,
hand
I was
gestures
doing
around.
that.
Well, he just did it again.
You
So
didn't- I don't think you realized.
Yeah, you were
you're
just-
like.
Oh,
You're
with
doing
the-
this.
Give him
Oh.
double handies. All right.
yeah, well,
You're
so
skiing.
you just did it twice. And
You're skiing, buddy.
All right, we don't got to beat the decline horse to death, right? I get it. I just don't think they're on a decline.
Your hand gestures were getting me
Think
inclined.
They lost. Cincinnati beat their ass. They got to fix some things up, but They still have Josh Allen.
The offense and the defense are just just got to go and do it now.
All right, well, guys, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen, you can check us out on our socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, especially YouTube. Like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Guys on Network. Look out for our other show, Guys on Draft. We want to send love to Rocky because he's out there. Was it National Sticky Bun Day?
Sticky Bun, National Sticky Bun Day or whatever it's
He's
called.
just shoving his face.
Yeah.
Bet he is.
Piece of garbage.
Couldn't be on the show. Had to eat some desserts instead.
Yeah.
Goes to show what type of
All
character
right,
he has.
So please like and subscribe and follow and do all that stuff. Comment. We love you. Peace.